Hello everyone, welcome to my channel AI Simplified. In today's video, I will be showing you how to install Azure Function locally into your system. And this tutorial is both for people installing it on their personal system and also on their business laptops. The problem with business laptop is mostly we don't have admin access, and it's difficult to explain to the IT team or getting permission from the IT to get install these in the system. So I am going to show you the workaround as well. And for installing Azure or running Azure functions locally in your system, you need four things, and mainly Azure CLI, Azure Function, Azure extension in VS Code, and VS Code itself. So you can see all these three in on my screen, and one more is Azure extensions. But let's go through the tutorial from Azure first. So it's Learn Microsoft, and this is the Azure tutorial. I will put the link in the description below. And here the first thing they say that you should have an Azure account. Second, you have to install this Azure Function core tools, and this requires admin rights. So this will be a problem for people who doesn't have admin rights. Will show you a workaround for this. So the workaround will be to install the zip from their GitHub page and extract the zip content and add this to the environment variable. I will also put this link in the description below. Then we have this Python version which supports like the Azure functions, so you can check them out. But I would recommend you to use Conda so that it's much more easier to change the environments there. Then we want VS Code and similarly Python extension that I will show you now, and Azure Function extension. And the last one is Azure v3 extension. This is for local storage, but we are going to do it like a very basic setup for this tutorial. So we are going to create Azure function locally, put it onto Azure cloud, and yeah, run something. So let's first, I already told you how to do Azure function core tools. Normally you can click here, it will take you some page, you click this and it will install the installer. I have already installed it because it takes some time and I don't want to include the time in the video. But if you don't have admin rights, you can go to this page and just install this zip, extract it, add it to your environment path, and then it's done. Once you are done, you can go to CMD, click on function, and it should show you something like this. That means it's recognizing the command and it's installed successfully. If you have any problem, do let me know in the comments. I will be happy to help you. Next, so we are done with step 1, step 2, and let's say I can also show you here on the portal how to create a Azure function if you don't know. So it just takes too much time. Sorry, it doesn't take much time. So here, so function app, you go to the function app and you go function app. Here you can see one I already created for this tutorial because it takes at least 3 to 4 minutes. But if you click create and then you select your subscription, your resource group, some function app name like test, so something like this, and then you select a runtime stack. I'm gonna use Python version 3.2, my region something, and operating system Linux, and same consumption plan, some storage account, then some networking like public access. Do you want to provide public access to your Then monitoring, if you want to have like very detailed logs about it. Then the deployment, if you want to use CI/CD pipelines. And last is text, and then the last one is review and create. You click the create button and the app will be created. I already have a app function, Azure function tutorial, and if you go see, it's just empty. I created this before the video. So if you see here in function, so overview, and yeah, so now it says create a function in Azure portal, but I don't want to do that. I will be doing it from my local system. So now let's go to VS Code. So we are done with this step. I hope that you guys have installed Python already. If not, there are a lot of tutorials online which you can use to install Conda or Python. And since we selected 3.2 version during the creation of our Azure app, I would suggest you to use the same version locally as well. Now, now we have to do VS Code. Normally, you can go to here and search for VS Code. Go here and just download it. I have already installed it, so I will start, and then you do VS Code. Yeah, right. And then you see here there is a Azure extension. So you go to extension, look for Azure tools, and this one is installed. You can also just click install and it will be installed. Then you go to Azure here and it will ask you for signing in your Azure account. So if you see here in this step, it shows like this in the app, sign into Azure. It will open the browser and you just log in with your credentials and it will be done. Then you see the same screen as mine. And if I click here and go to the function app, you can see there is a function app, right? And it's empty at the moment with no functions, right? And so far what we have done is like install all the necessary things that we require. Now I am gonna activate my environment, gonna activate this. So and go to this so I have already a folder which is an empty folder on my local drive, and I am going to first set up a environment, a function that or how to say that. And so I'm gonna tell VS Code that this folder is actually a Azure function. So for this you just try a function init and initialize this directory as your Azure function directory, and it asks me which language you want to use. So just to show you again, I choose Python, and it creates some requirement getting started at all these files. So when you go to this requirement.txt, it says you need to install this function. So I am gonna just use pip install -r requirement.txt. I already installed this, so it says requirement already satisfied, but when you run this command it will also install this part. There is one more thing that you need to install, which is pip install Azure CLI. So the 3-4 installers I told, we already found the zip version for function CLI. VS Code doesn't require admin rights, and we don't need admin rights for VS Code for the Azure extension in VS Code. But Azure CLI, I cannot find any zip file, and neither you can install it without admin rights. So an alternate to this is using this library pip install Azure CLI, and this will install the library. I already installed it. It takes at least 5 to 7 minutes to install this library, so I already installed it. But here you can see that, oh, there are some packages missing. It's installing right now at the moment, but yeah, but this is a library that you need require to install instead of Azure CLI if you don't have admin access on your system. Then I will open a new terminal here meanwhile, and we already initialized this repository, installed the packages. So I'm gonna start create a new function and just click here function to get a idea what you want to do. So we are hitting this new part. We need to provide a language, template name, file, or some authentication level. But I'm gonna do a very simple example function init. A name will be, some function, something like, so it's gonna do a sum of two numbers, then a template, and template name will be http trigger. So you can google different templates offered by Azure. I think there are only 5 and 6, but I am using Azure http trigger. Once you do this and refresh it here, okay, so all right, but there were no files created here. So normally it should give you something like a function. So downloads, is this the right tree? So let's see dir, and do we do have it or not? Open in Explorer. Okay, so it's not function init, it's function new. So my bad, it's the command is new, not init. So function new, the name is summation function, and then the trigger is gonna be http trigger. So yeah, so function new, the name will be minus n some function, and template will be http trigger. And now it's created the sum function here with init.py. So it's this one is used by Azure for the deployment, and you can see it has main function, a name, and then if the name is there in parameters, it prints the name, hello name, something, and otherwise gives a response. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna show you how to run it locally. So you do function start host. So this will run the function locally in your system, and here you can see. So so sorry about it. Yeah, so as soon as you put this command, function new, this, it creates a function, then you do a function host start will run the function locally, and once you click it, you can, it opens the link, and here you can see, since we have not provided a name, it's just gives us this response. But if I pass a name in parameter, like, yeah, it replies something like hello, the name, and then it's successfully done. Right, now I'm gonna show you how, if I change, what happens. So I'm gonna change it to something like a, it will get a, and then integer value, and b equal to same. Copy paste this one, and yeah. So now once I deploy this one, all of a and b, if a and b are present, you do a plus b. So now I'm gonna just run this function start host, and this will run my function locally, and I am getting parameters a and b. I'm gonna sum them as like this, and I have it open in browser, so I'm just gonna do a refresh. And the sum is 8 now. If you also want to do a debug for this, a very easy way will be just to go here and run and debug. Once you have the Azure extension, restart your VS Code, you get a notification in the corner that this is a VS Azure function code. Do you want us to initialize it? And once you initialize it as Azure function, you automatically get the debugging configurations. Now I just add I want to see the value of both, and I just attach it to the debugger, run it, task it. You don't have any storage emulator in your local settings. I don't want it for this example. Just, and then you will get some errors from PowerShell. And when it's done, then you get the link again the same way, and I am going to just send the request again, and instead of showing result me this time, you can see it's here, and I do next. In locals you can see that I have a as, yeah, and then I do here bs6, I do again, and the value is 8. Just to confirm, sum again, 2 plus 7, 9. Yeah, so this is how you do the debugging. And we also saw how to run it locally. Now we just want to publish it here. So at the moment in our function app, this function tutorial doesn't have any functions, right? And I'm going to go here, our terminal, clear everything, and I'm gonna write function publish, and yeah, and this should start the deployment on this one. This one has some problem. No, but it works fine. Mm. So you can see it showing an error that my local Python version is 3 now, while the app that we are deploying it is 3.10, and this required some time. So I mean, in normal way also it will take 5-6 minutes to deploy it. Yeah, depends. Sometimes it takes 2-3 minutes, sometimes it takes more time. It's gonna take our code, deploy it in a container with, and set up the HTTP REST API endpoint and everything. So by the meanwhile it's being deployed, just to show you how we are gonna test it, I am going to Postman, and it's just an API platform. Here I am going to send a API request with two numbers that will be shown on our, so we will send a request from here to Azure with two numbers, and then we should get a response of, yeah, of the sum of these numbers. So sign in, no, maybe use Google. All right, so you can see that it's deployed here on this, as this is the link for us. And we just need one more code uh, to do it. So I'm gonna just log into my Postman, and then I can show you. All right, so here we have the Postman running, and here we have successfully deployed it. So now if I go to Azure extension and then click on this Azure function, refresh it, and you can see that the some function is already deployed on cloud. Same can be confirmed from here. Yeah, so if I go to Azure function, refresh the app again, you see there is a function name, some function. If I click it, I can see the code here. Yeah, I can see the code here, and yeah, so it shows init.py with the code that I deployed, and you can also do a monitor here. Oh yeah, it's not configured, but once you configure the application inside, you can see the logs as well. Now I am going to create this new place from code and test. I am going to get the link for this Azure function and get function URL default, and just paste it here. In the parameters I give a number a2 bs2, and then do a send request, and you get the result sum is 4. So this is how you do a deployment of Azure function, totally developed locally, and put it into Azure cloud. I hope you guys like this video. If yes, then please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. Thank you so much.